Hello, it's Scott with Zendy AI, and welcome to the Systems Are Sexy podcast. Today I am joined by Caroline McMeans. She's a co founder of Homepoint. They are a tech forward real estate brokerage that's rethinking how buyers and sellers experience a transaction. Caroline and her husband Trey built Homepoint to combine full service real estate expertise with consumer first technology platform that keeps everyone on track and informed throughout the process. So, welcome to the show, Caroline. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, so my background has been in real estate, both in residential and commercial real estate for the past 10 years. And my husband's background is in technology. So he's been a seasoned technologist and has started some companies, has helped grow other startups. So his background has been in technology, and we've always wanted to do something together. And really, it was back in, I would say, 2024 when we had the idea for Homepoint. We actually we had a really great car sales experience, to be honest. We used an app that was the transaction coordinator, I guess, for a, vehicle we were selling to another individual. So they were the car dealer. It's a virtual car dealership. So they take on a lot of the risk in the process of virtually selling a car, but you're able to do it kind of person to person. We were like, wow, this would be really cool if you could do this in buying or selling a home. So we kind of went down the path of creating another kind of agent technology company. And then we quickly realized there's many of those out there and the world doesn't need another agent tool. And since I already had my broker's license, we decided to create a tech forward platform that really puts the consumer first. Because at the end of the day, one big thing that we're trying to solve is really right sizing real estate agent commission based on, value that's created. So I'm not saying agents aren't creating value, because they certainly are, and it's a very important part of this industry. But if we can create a tool that makes agents more efficient in their job, so our software handles the administrative tasks like transaction coordination, document management, scheduling. We have AI built into there, and then our agents can focus on customer relationships, negotiation, the things that really drive value. Our agents are able to handle a larger load so they can close more deals. So that's kind of how we've grown and started. And yeah, we launched last year and picked up customers, I guess, tail end of last year, and have started closing homes this year. So
And maybe you just shared with me before we went live about the competition you won. I think that'd be cool to share with the audience too.
sure. So we just competed in Alabama Launchpad. So we are a Birmingham, Alabama based company. We're licensed in both Alabama and Tennessee. But yeah, so Alabama Launchpad is a competition that's funded by the Economic Development Partnership of Alabama. And there's a tech competition. Let's see, there are 45 applicants. 5 companies pitched. Homepoint was one that was selected to pitch, and we won $75,000 last week to go towards really our marketing goals for the company to help get more customers into our pipeline and grow the company going into 2026. So that's a non-dilutive award, which is amazing to get funding. As anyone with a startup knows, it takes a lot of cash to get companies going, and if you can get some cash without giving up any of your company, that's a huge win. So we're really honored and thrilled to get that award.
Great. So if people aren't familiar with your business model, how do you guys differ from a traditional brokerage?
Sure. So there's a few things. So I guess so we represent both buyers and sellers. So I would say our buying model is probably a little bit more novel and different. So if there's someone who's interested in working with Homepoint, they go onto our website, they make an account, and then they are searching for homes that they're interested in, maybe on Zillow or realtor.com, and then they are putting the address of that home into their dashboard. And so they're kind of creating their own list of properties that they're interested in. Once they're interested in touring a home, they click tour home and a little module pops up, and they pay $50 to go on a tour. So that's very different than the current agent model. And I'm sure some people are like, how does anybody do that? But what that does, we don't require an agent relationship on the front end. So that gives people a little bit of flexibility, whether or not, they're wanting to jump fully in with an agent, reduces our risk, and we can charge our flat fee of $5,000 because people are paying $50 a tour up front, because we're not out like labor and time, because real estate agents are traipsing all around town. I know how that goes. And there's a lot of time and investment put on the front end. And, a lot of times customers don't close on houses. So you have to charge higher commissions to backfill all the time that you spent. So our model, you pay $50 up front, and if you close on a house with Homepoint, that money does get credited back to you at closing. So it's always a flat fee of $5,000. But if you don't close on a house with Homepoint, you're just out that money. But then we have an agent that will meet you at the house, give you a tour of that house, and then if you decide you're interested in that home, you get back into your dashboard and you put your draft offer terms into the dashboard. And then your dedicated real estate agent would work with you through that final offer. So they would call the listing agent, do market comps, really create value in that moment to finalizing the offer. And then they're working with you as well as the software through closing. So really, the dashboard is kind of your hub for information and knowing where your transaction is. So you can always log in and see exactly where you are in the process. So if you've ever ordered a pizza from Domino's, there's like that tracker of your pizza and where it is in the process. And that's exactly how Homepoint works. So if you're working with us, you can log in and see exactly where you are, if you're in title, if you're waiting on your appraisal to be approved, if you're in the inspection period. So it's really consumer facing technology. And then you also have your agent at all times that can help you through issues, talk to you, and really be your quarterback through the process. So really just the buying process is a little different. And then when we're working with sellers, so your agent does not come out to your house. So that's also different. So it's a little bit more of like a remote virtual agent experience. But you as the seller create an account on Homepoint. You enter in all your home information. So instead of like an hour sit down meeting where an agent is maybe receiving this information, you as the seller are inputting it directly into the platform. You select when you want your photographer to come out and when you want your home to go live. And then Homepoint receives all that information. We schedule a professional photographer to come out on that date. Homepoint pays for that. We send out a lockbox and a yard sign. And then once we receive the photos of the home, that's when we pull all the market comps, really come up with pricing. So, we're seeing what it looks like on the inside of the house based on comps in the area. And we create a full pricing analysis for our customers. And then we're, again, the quarterback through the entire process. So our agents are working with buyers agents that are coming. So anyone can tour a Homepoint home. So that's something to be said. It's not any different. It goes on MLS. It gets syndicated to Zillow, Realtor.com, all the things. And we work with, typical buyers agents. And we just recommend to our sellers to consider, commission as total net proceeds. So definitely don't be scared away by that if you're a buyer's agent.
I got it. You had mentioned earlier that's a lot of work with a startup, which I understand. Where are you focusing your time right now? Are you in the transaction? Are you handled by the platform? Like, where do you guys feel like you spend a lot of your time right now?
So Trey spends the majority of his time on the software and the website and figuring out what works, what doesn't work, what language is attractive and converts customers and doesn't work. And so he spends a lot of his time there, and I spend my time on the transaction work. And so I am, working with our customers to get homes closed. And then also I'm focusing my time on marketing. So really creating educational content, whether that's on TikTok or Instagram. We're starting to do some direct mailer campaigns, getting that out there, also figuring out language for ads. So that's really my focus. So I'm focused more customer facing, and Trey is definitely behind the scenes doing all the engineering.
That's right. Got it. So you guys launched about a year ago. You're seeing some referrals. What's been the most effective getting new traction? I know you mentioned a couple of things you're working on, but so far, how have you guys been getting new clients?
Probably some of the best way to get new customers for us have been, SEO and just like Google and Meta ads. That's been a really great tool for us. We've done, and I know other agents do this too, we've done some free webinars to just help educate, home buyers or sellers. And that's been a good way to expose people to our brand and what we're doing. And then just kind of the hustle. Like I personally hate TikTok, but making a TikTok video that can then be content to be shared somewhere else, and just getting your face out there. And the message and the mission of what we're trying to do.
So obviously, you guys have talked about expanding. What's the hardest part moving into a new state? Let's say you want to go into Georgia, for example. What are the challenges of going to another state?
Yeah, I mean, the upfront barriers is obviously the licensing, so getting the correct licensing to be in a state, understanding if that state's going to require a formal office space or if they're a virtual, office. state for licensing. So that's really important and obviously something we want to get right on the front end. And then, once passing those hurdles, really just cutting through the competition because there are a lot of real estate agents and there's a lot of great brands out there. And Homepoint is a new brand. So creating brand awareness is huge and it's a hard part. And, you start out with maybe 10, 15 homes a year in a certain market. But the thought is, real estate is a snowball. So the more you can feed that engine, the more repeat, more referral, more reviews, just all of that definitely help that snowball start to grow and, definitely seeking to get market share. So, I mean, really our goal, we want to pretty much aggressively expand, over the next 5 years into the Southeast. And I think looking at metrics that we could potentially have 4% market share of a market after 9 years of being in that market. That is aggressive, but I would say the beauty of having a product that's a little bit different and also creating more opportunity across the state. So, I mean, I service the entire state of Alabama and the entire state of Tennessee. I'm not just localized to Birmingham only. And the way our model is set up allows us to do that. So that's a little bit different than the traditional brokerage model.
Kind of switching technology, how do you see technology playing a part for your growth while also keeping a focus on customer service?
Yeah, so I think technology is a huge part of this. For us, we started out like the residential real estate industry, I think, has been slow to adopt some technology. And Homepoint, we believe, is creating a more simple and transparent and efficient process through technology. So that's one of our mission points. But especially, well, I'll first say buying a home or selling a home is one of the largest financial transactions most Americans make in their lives. And they're not quite ready for that to be 100% technology without a human piece. But I do think there's a lot of parts in the process that can be made more efficient through technology and thus reducing cost in our model. And, you know, especially with the growth of AI, there's tremendous opportunity when you're looking at market comps, pricing. How can you remodel this bathroom to get X amount of proceeds more on your house? Because there's so much data and all these pictures and all these images, and AI is growing in that way. And I think that's going to be a really important piece of this, at least our product service and what we're offering. And I think AI is going to be a great tool moving forward. It's not completely there yet, but it's definitely in the next 5 to 10 years going to be there. And I think we will see eventually at some point, AI being even more involved and people interested in having less and less agent touch points in the transaction.
Yeah, I'm wondering what that looks like, as things evolve over time, because I think you had mentioned maybe a vision of having salaried agents supported by tech. The real estate industry has always been very high touch, and I'm wondering, you're on the technology side of it. I know it's hard to predict these things, but where do you see it in 5 years for a realtor?
I think personally, my viewpoint is that it's hybrid, but I think we can get our technology to be where the technology is managing 80 to 90% of the process and the agent is the other 10 to 20%. There will always be issues there will be some transactions that run so smoothly and perfectly, like technology basically handles it. But there will also be closings, and we've all experienced them, where anything and everything could go wrong and it goes off the rails, and there needs to be someone accountable and making sure what needs to happen happens so the closing moves forward. And also there's just that emotional piece that really the human touch is needed. So yeah, I think in the next 5 years, technology can be a really big piece of this. And yeah, like I mentioned, I think our model is a salaried real estate model. So we have agents that can probably push through and manage 75 to 100 transactions a year, paid salaried, paid well with benefits. There's a lot of people out there who would love to have a salaried benefited role rather than just being a 1099 worker. So it creates a little bit more stability. It's not a fit for everyone, but for some people it certainly is. And if you're supported by great technology to keep you on track and help you with your customers, it could be great.
Kind of speaking a little bit more about technology, if you could wave a magic wand and maybe automate or remove one challenge from your business today, what do you think it would be?
That's a good question. Remove a challenge. Well, because what's interesting right now, working with my husband and working in a startup, when challenges do pop up, when I'm like, oh, this is a pain point, Trey, it's like, oh, let me fix that into the model. And so we're not having to outsource that; it's all in house. So he's actively working on things. So when a pain point comes up, a real life example, I'm working on a contract that we were we weren't going to do a survey. We were not going to do a survey in the contract. And now the lender's coming back and saying, we don't necessarily need the survey, but title's needing the survey for XYZ reason. So the closing's 2 weeks out. And I know that could be a potential red flag for the closing and could stall things if we have to get this survey done. So I'm like, Trey, can we add into our dashboard kind of like this red flag automation to where we instantly can like get this resolved and everybody know how this could impact the deal? So we're actively working on that, which is cool. But that's a pain point, I guess, on the transaction side when something pops up. But then on the business side, I would just say like getting people into the funnel and keeping them nurtured. I would say most real estate agents, there's a lot of nurturing that has to happen there. But there's definitely software solutions for that exist, especially with AI.
Right, absolutely. I know you'd mentioned about moving to Georgia and entitling and all that. As you look to scale throughout the southeast, what do you think the biggest bottleneck is? It talent, capital, customer acquisition? What kind of keeps you up at night as you start to think about growing bigger than this?
I think it's customer acquisition and just marketing. I mean, at the end of the day, having the capital to, advertise and gain market share, that's probably the biggest piece. Getting folks into the funnel.
As far as like your interaction with your customers, your clients, what are they talking to you about? Like, what kind of are you seeing shifts in buyer and seller behavior now? How they want to interact with brokerages? Are you getting pushback? Or are people going, yeah, that makes total sense to me?
Really, I'm not seeing a lot of pushback. I mean, I would say we're mostly working with, which a lot of people are surprised, mostly boomers, Gen X, and older millennials. So that's kind of our market demographic. Typically, our customers are people who have already closed on a transaction, so feel pretty comfortable with what they're doing. They may have had an experience where they said, how did my realtor just make $20,000 on this transaction when I found my house on Zillow? There's a lot of commentary around that. So we're really working with customers who are already maybe searching for an alternative solution. I think what we're going to find as more people are being competitive on their commission rates, you have to set yourself apart in different ways. And we think that's through a really great transaction process and customer service. But I would say even working with other agents, so we thought there might be a little bit more pushback because we do make agents when we're working on when we're the listing agent, we make agents come and use our software and send offers through our website. We thought there might be a little bit of pushback, but at the end of the day, there's not. And we've actually had good feedback from agents we're working with that they thought it was very user friendly, very helpful. So just generally positive overall. And I think everybody is open to change and realize how technology is going to start, and it already has, but is moving things. So I think especially the agents who are, forward looking are seeing that and are open to the changes.
Someone that's listening that's interested in kind of following your path and they're interested in property tech or kind of technology in the real estate industry. You guys are living it right now as you're starting to grow this business and take it to new places. What advice do you give to somebody that's a little intimidated and someone that's living it every day? What advice would you give to somebody that wants to do what you're doing right now?
It's definitely hard work, and it helps to have a husband that's encouraging you and vice versa, like back and forth for the two of us. And, Trey and I both started this company with full-time jobs. And so this was side hustle and working hard and working nights and weekends and making sacrifices to figure out how we can start a business without being too risky. But yeah, it's hard work, and don't be afraid to actually put your own money towards something, because that's also hard when you write some big marketing checks or you're like, I'm going to commit to this lease I have to have for the next 12 months because it's part of the licensing requirement of this state. But it works out and we start to get customers, and our mentality is, this, we just need 2 customers to make this financially make sense, or, getting people in the funnel. So just don't give up on yourself, because it's hard. And there's also naysayers, and don't let that, bring you down, and just figure out what your passion is and why you actually care about what you're doing and putting out into the world. And that seems to help me keep moving forward.
That's great. Do you guys have times where you go, we can't talk about work anymore? Like we got to shut it off?
Definitely more so me than my husband. We've tried to separate business and personal chat. So it's like now we use Slack, and it's like all business chat needs to go on Slack versus just our text messages. So we can kind of keep it separate. And there's definitely nights where I'm like, I need a no home point night. And he very kindly reminds me that that's not the case when you have a startup. And we have a 10-month-old daughter. So we started Homepoint before I was pregnant, and then or it started the idea, and then had our daughter Sloan last December, right when we launched it. And I was like, I don't know if I can manage all of this, but we definitely figured it all out, and it's all a blessing, her and the company.
That's awesome. So if people want to learn more about you guys, what's the best way to go about doing that?
Yeah, you can go to our website. It's homepoint.co, so .co. You can see all kinds of info there, and you can even just click and make an account to see some of our software behind the scenes. And we're also on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, so you can find us there, and LinkedIn. And also just feel free to email us or text us. Our phone number and contacts all on the website, so you can reach out to us there.
Well, thank you, Caroline. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it as well.